So to start making the pencil case, first of all we're going to take the front or the outside of the pencil case and we're going to iron 1/4 inch on both of these edges. Now it's a square, so it doesn't matter which edge you use, but I want my pencil case with the stripes that way, so I'm going to iron these edges. Okay, so just a nice edge. Use the steam on your iron, don't burn your fingers. And same on the other side. This is the seam where the zipper is going to go. And if you feel like you can't get that straight, you can always draw a line first. Okay, so I have those two sides done. Okay, now we're going to attach the zipper. So what you need to do is place your zipper. Now I've got a fun pink zipper here and I want the zip to show. If you didn't want the zipper to show so much, you could take this fabric to the middle of the zipper teeth. But I'm going to put it on the edge because I like it. And you can come up with all kinds of funky designs, and again, it's great for the kids. You could also applique onto the side of your pencil case. You could put their name or maybe the year, start of the new school year or something. Okay, I'm just going to put an extra one there. Okay, so I've pinned my zipper, so the zipper is face up and the fabric is face up. And now I'm going to stitch this, and I'm going to use the zipper foot, so make sure you get the zipper foot for your machine. Okay, so you're going to undo the zip about halfway, and you're going to start stitching fairly close to this edge of the fabric. Taking the pins out as you go along. Okay, so when you take a pin out, you need to put your finger where the pin was to hold the fabric in place. Okay, and now that we've got down to where the zipper is, I'm going to make sure the needle is in. I'm going to lift up the foot and just push the zipper up past that area. It can be a little tricky, but just it just makes it so much better because it's bulky and it pushes your stitching out to go around it. So this way it means your stitching is nice and straight. So foot down again and just continue as you were doing so. When you stop, you should always have your needle in the fabric. Okay, and make sure that's nice and hold it tightly in place where the pin was. All the way down to the end. Like that, and I think you'll agree that wasn't too difficult. Okay, so now to do the other side, a little bit more tricky. So you're going to, what we need to do is join this onto here. This is the other side of the zipper fabric. So what you do is you pin it in place with the zipper closed because it's easier to match our fabric up. Just go through the zip, not the underneath fabric. Put your hand in there just to check. And make sure everything's all nice and lined up. Make sure I haven't gone through. Yeah, that one goes through, so I'll just, don't want it to pin the front to the back. And that one did too. Okay, so nothing's pinned through to the back. So in order to sew this side of the zipper on, you need to undo the zipper. Just trim that. You need to open the zipper up, and that's why the pins needed to be in place. And you can actually make sure you've got, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pins along here, just so that it is held onto the zipper. Okay, so now we're going to stitch down this side. And to do that, I'm going to have to reposition my zipper foot so that it's on the other side. Needle in, and start stitching. Just pull that thread out to the back, pin out. Keep your fingers up here. It gives you more control when you're trying to keep everything very precise. Needle in, pin out. Let's tuck that little thread in there. See how I'm keeping my finger close to the foot? Keeps everything together. If you're holding it down here, then this could come apart and you don't have any control over it. And also make sure that this doesn't get caught up underneath the foot, so keep it open. And this is where it gets a little tricky as you get down to the bottom. So again, fingers on where the pin was. Needle in when you stop. Some machines stop automatically with the needle in. Mine doesn't. Okay. And again, just make sure that this bit doesn't get caught up underneath the needle. We're almost at the bottom, and you actually need to sort of manipulate the fabric so that this, because obviously the zip doesn't undo completely. Okay, so needle in. I'm going to take the last pin out. Got to kind of hold it all together. And like before, I'm going to fasten the zipper a little past the, and I don't know if you can see in this, it's quite hard to get to, but again, you've got to make sure none of this is caught up underneath. It's getting pretty tricky, and you've just got to make sure that that this fabric doesn't get caught up underneath. So just with the needle in, means that you can move this around without losing your place, is just make sure that it's flat on this inside bit here. Hold your finger on here where you took the last pin out, because you don't want that to come apart. You want it to be neat all the way to the end. Put the foot back down and just slowly go to the end. So when you get to the end, foot up, and you just have to kind of wiggle this around to get it under there. And that's the zipper part done. It might take you a little bit of practice just to get it all right, but it's really not difficult. So now what we're going to do is sew the ends. So we're going to flip the pencil case inside out and make it so that the zipper is in the middle. And we're going to iron this. And a little trick here is to use a safety pin. Just put this here. To hold these ends together, because you need the zipper down so that you can flip it the right way out. If the zip is closed, then you will not be able to turn it back the right way. So just put a little safety pin here. You can measure this if it makes you feel better, to make sure it's in the middle. Okay, so I'm going to iron the sides flat here. Threads. So we're going to iron, put my steam on, iron the edges. Makes sewing so much easier when you keep ironing everything. And then we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and stitch down both sides here. So we want to go back to our regular foot. We're finished with the zipper foot now. Okay, just put your threads to the back and going to stitch down. Having stripes is always good because you can stick to the stripe all the way down and make sure your stitching is straight. So let's get started. We'll do a couple of forward then backward stitches. Let's go slow over the middle bit so we don't break our needle. Few backward stitches there. Okay, and now we're going to do the same at this side, and the safety pin here is holding it together while the zipper is open. Okay, so I'm going to choose so we're just going to go nice and slowly over this bit. We don't want the needle to crunch in the little metal teeth and snap. I think it's going to be fine. And actually, I'm going to just do a little back stitch there. That's somewhere that there's going to be a lot of wear and tear on the pencil case, so just reinforces a little bit. And continue to the end. Backward stitch. And take it out. Okay, so there's 2 rows of stitching either side. And now we're going to just trim. You see where my stitching is? I'm going to trim about 1/4 inch away from that, just so it's less bulky. Okay, and you don't need to worry too much about the loose threads, because we're going to put a lining in the pencil case which will keep all that covered up. Okay, so take your safety pin out and then flip this the right way. Look how cool this is. And you could leave it like this, but I'm going to put a lining in mine. Just press out the corners with your blunt scissors, not pointy ones. You don't want to go through and make a hole. And we'll, as usual, we're going to iron this too, just to make it nice and finished. I'm going to iron this. So let's just press the pencil case on this side. Put some steam on there. It's looking so nice. That. So to make the lining is slightly smaller, and that's so that it fits inside the pencil case. So what we're going to do is take the 2 shorter edges and iron the same 1/4 inch hem on the top and bottom end as we did with the pencil case. We're pretty much doing the same thing again, but with no zipper. So 1/4 inch on this one. actually a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. Just make it the same on both. Okay, and now we are going to fold it, but we're going to leave a little space in the middle. I don't know if you can see that. There's like about a 1/4 of an inch there, because that will go around the zipper. Iron that. And so now you're doing the lining. You don't need to sew down these 2 edges, because you'll see we're going to hand stitch it. But we do need to sew down both sides, just like you did with the other one. Just going to make sure those seams are pinned in place. And I put the pins where I'm going to stitch. That's enough. Okay, so I'm going to take this to the machine and stitch. I still have pink thread in here, but that's fine. Okay, so a couple of backward stitches. Hold the seam down as you go through it. A couple of backward stitches. Pin out, same here, forward, back. Hold the middle together when you take that pin out. Back, little back stitch there. Okay, so like you did for the first one, we'll just trim the seam. Just makes it less bulky. And trim that. So at this point, all you have to do is put this one, the inside lining, inside the pencil case. And you can use your fingers just to press, like poke your finger in the pointy bit in the corner. And look at your nice lining. But of course we have to stitch that in. So once you've got the corners in the right place, we're just going to put some pins in here. And remember what I told you about covering up all the messy bits? That's what the lining does. Okay, so see how I have that all pinned? So we're just going to get our needle and thread and do a nice little overstitch all the way around the edge, and it will be finished. So I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to take some of this pink thread, so just do, to start off when you're hand sewing, you can just do 3 little stitches, one on top of the other, or you can start off with a knot if you want to. and do it somewhere where you won't see. Okay, and then I'm just going to do this little stitch. So just carry on doing this all the way around, joining the lining and the outer pencil case together, and I'll show you what it's like when I've done this bit. So when you reach the end here, just tie in, make sure that the lining and the outer case meet up, and just do a good few stitches there just to make sure it's nice and strong. Okay, so I'm going to clip that. And I'm very happy with my cool pencil case.